Hey there, I'm Tony from the Marathon Mates. We are just 1 week away from yet another marathon major. This time it's the London Marathon, which is set to run on the 27th of April. Now, on this episode, we are going to share our memories from the London Marathon that we did in 2022, as well as give you some tips and tricks to help you get the most out of your London experience. We are the only podcast with 4 6-star medalists, and we are all co-hosts and we are all good friends. And this is the Flying Runner Podcast. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying Runner, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. I'm Tony from the Marathon Mates, and can you believe it? We are at episode 93 of the Flying Runner Podcast. On tonight's episode, we are talking everything what you need to know about the amazing London Marathon. Now, the London Marathon is one of the world's largest fundraising events. Each year, this event collects millions of dollars for people in need. It's one of the big 7 majors, and there's a reason why so many runners around the world put London on their bucket list. There truly is just something amazing and wonderful about this event. On tonight's episode, we are going to talk about our experiences from London 2022, from the Expo to the general vibe around the city. We'll talk about the race itself. And of course, the race starts at Greenwich and finishes in front of Buckingham Palace on the Mall in London. In addition, we'll share some of the special travel tips for London and the things that you should do whilst you're there. And it all doesn't revolve around going to Bushy Parkrun. But before we do any of that, let's introduce our co-hosts tonight. We've got Tara, Tim, and of course, Lucia. Guys, I saw Tim and Tara yesterday at our Marathon Mates lunch. So, hey, Luch, I'm going to start with you. How's your week been and how's your running going?
So week was a bit quieter because I wasn't well on Tuesday. So I thought best rest up a little bit because on Saturday night, I had the Nike Women's After Dark Tour half marathon. So an event, first of the series around the world. They're doing 7,500 women. There were a few guys, but it was probably about 7,495 women running. And I was fortunate to be one of the pacers. I was one of the sweepers. So it was Nike know how to put on events. So I started in Rozelle. It was a bit of a weird course. They didn't do any road closure. So we went through White Bay Cruise Terminal, the New Fish Market, Old Fish Market, and we ended up at Tumbalong Park in Darling Harbour, in the centre of Sydney, where they had a massive after party. It was, and leading up to the race, they also had a series of panel discussions as well. And I was fortunate enough, I got to go to one which had Kathy Freeman and Ariane Titmus. Absolutely amazing. Just the way they spoke, it was just fascinating. And the main thing I took away from that was, what is your purpose? And so that got me really thinking about it. But the event itself, absolutely fantastic. It was, so I was a sweeper with my pacing buddy that I'll be sweeping for Sydney, Terry. So we had to start dead last, which was quite fun. There was a couple of issues along the way, but nothing like first year they've done something like this, which I'm sure they'll improve. But about just after the 10K mark, we picked up 2 ladies. One lady, she was a bit sore, and then we're talking to her for a bit. She goes, I'm just going to put my headphones on. And off she went. It's like, okay, we're great company then if you want to put your headphones on and then just keep walking. And then there was another lady who she was struggling with cramps really, really bad. So we took her, like a number of times we had medics say to her, if you want us to call you a buggy, we'll get you across the finish. So ultimately we did get her across the finish. I'm convinced she hated us at the end because we were asking her the most random questions on earth. Like one of the questions I asked her was, if you eat scones, do you put jam or cream? If so, which order? Turns out she only puts jam on her scones. So we were trying to take her mind off things because we didn't have anything honest to help her with the grams. But what was the interesting bit? She signed up for this race when she was drunk.
Okay.
So, yeah. So just a word of advice to our listeners: be careful what you do when you're drunk because you don't know what you'll actually do. So thankfully, she had some other friends that were doing the race, and they'd finished way before we came in. And so then, as soon as we crossed the finish line, they just kind of took over. But the one thing now, it could be me, and tell me if I'm being a bit iffy, but she didn't thank us. It's like we stuck with you for over 10 Ks. What you could do is say thank you.
That's the world we live in, I think, Lucia.
But it was just so much fun being a sweeper for that one. So I can't wait to sweep in Sydney because there was a lot of, like, they had great activations, great music along course. Yeah, it was a really good event. So that was the big thing I did over the weekend.
Excellent. Tim and Tara, I saw you yesterday. Has anything changed from what you did on the weekend?
Well, we didn't do our long run yesterday. We had a rest week. Tim's hammy's been a bit twingy, so I used it as a good excuse to have a bit of rest as well. And Tim did park walker duties at Bunyaville Park Run, and I did a little bit of a jog down the hills and walked the rest of it. So, yeah, very quiet week for us this week.
Yeah, the twingy hammy's just one of those things. I think it's just from pushing it just a little bit too quick, a bit quicker than what I'd like to, and it's just twinged a little bit. I got a massage on Saturday from our good friend Wayne Cooley, and it'll be all right. It's eased up quite a lot today. I could probably run on it today, but again, I'll have a quieter week this week, leading into a long run on maybe Friday this week, given that it's public holiday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Easter. I'm looking forward to get a long run in on Friday and then again on Monday. See how we go. So
that's it.
Any of these little guys.
Yeah, okay. That's an Easter egg for everyone listening on audio, by the way. Hey, I did 18K on Saturday. Really happy to get it out. 18.7. I'm thinking, why didn't I do just another 300 to get 19? Don't know. But yeah, that was good. It was raining. Sharon and I don't normally run when it's raining. I mean, Sharon doesn't like it when it's raining. But she did 14. I did 18. So really, really pleased with that. Garmin, it's getting better. It's starting to like me again. It says I was productive. So thank you very much, Garmin. So it now says I'm maintaining. So I went for a walk, a 2K walk this morning. It says I'm maintaining. So I've got no idea. But anyway, we had a great time. We've got a couple of people running Boston on Monday. Tim.
Yep. Yeah, we do. So our good friends Kylie and Mark Simpson, who we met over in New York. You met earlier in New York.
They were actually in London with us originally.
In London, correct. That's where we met them, in London the first time. And also Claudia Stevenson, who many of our listeners will remember as the vision-impaired athlete that came on episode number 48 to talk about her experiences in the New York Marathon. She's also running Boston. So good luck to Kylie and Mark and Claudia,
Potter,
and also
second attempt at it.
And
also Catherine.
Andrew and Lisa Lehman are running as well.
Yes.
So
a few people running. Good luck to everyone.
Actually, I think Andrew and Lisa are going for their 6 stars.
They are going for their 6 star in Boston. Same as Catherine.
Yeah, so let's knock it out of the park, guys. We need some more Aussie 6-star medalists, and make contact with the podcast, and I'll let you know what number you were. So how's that? All right, thanks, guys. It's that time of the week. Let's talk about what Tim's got in store for us with the news. Tim, what's been happening?
Thanks, Tony. First bit of news is a local event to us, I guess, the Christchurch Marathon in South Island of New Zealand. I say local; it's closer than most of the other marathons around the world we go to. Has had their biggest event ever just this weekend. So, in yet another sign of the popularity of running over the last few years, the Christchurch Marathon, which was held yesterday, had 7,015 participants enter into the event across the 4 distances they had on offer. That's a marathon, half marathon, 10K, and a kids marathon, they call it, 5K. That represents an increase of 27% more than those who participated last year, and the largest fields ever seen in the event. Christchurch says that they are New Zealand's running capital and that the city is a premium destination with a race that celebrates all of that. More than 29% of participants are travelling from around New Zealand to be there, while 247 athletes were from 24 different countries, which is a 56% increase in international athletes from previous years. So, really good event, this one. Everything I've seen on it looks really good. The marathon itself, probably not so good, but it's a beautiful looking course. It is a 10 kilometre loop course, so you've got to run it 4 times. But it is well praised by the run. It starts and finishes in Hagley Park, which is one of the biggest central parks in a CBD area in the world. And I think it's even bigger than Central Park in New York City. So, pretty awesome event. I don't know about running the 4 laps, but anyway, people seem to like that. This year's winning time in the men's marathon was 2 hours, 20 minutes and 20 seconds by Oscar Insk Baines, I think that's how you say his name. And then in the women's, Ingrid Cree won the women's event in 2 hours, 46 and 30 minutes. So, guys, I love Christchurch. I've been there numerous times over the years for work. I know it's been hit hard in the past by earthquakes and other things, but I'd love to get there one day and do this event. I think it would be a really good one. What do you reckon? We should aim to maybe do a flying running tour one year, maybe to go over there and bring some of our listeners along for a run or two. What do you reckon?
Like a good plan.
100% count me in.
Yep.
The 4 loops, no.
What did you
You'll have to go without me. Hey, and while we're talking local marathons, I think it's a great idea, Tim. Sorry, great idea. Organise your tour. You can tell me all about it. So, the Cairns Marathon has now officially sold out as well. So that's the 13th of July. So there's another one that's local. That's one of those smaller ones, I guess, but has sold out as well.
It's crazy how many running events are selling out, and some of these events could probably double their numbers and still sell out. So it's pretty crazy to hear that Cairns has already sold out this far out. But anyway, such is the world that we're in.
Absolutely.
Just get in early, people, and buy your tickets early in all these races. My second bit of news relates to our topic tonight, the London Marathon. It's important that we all understand that there's multiple ways that you can enter into the London Marathon, but by far the most popular way of trying to enter in is by ballot. This week they've announced that the 2026 ballot is going to take place from Friday the 25th of April, which is a week from when this episode is released. And the ballot will stay open until Friday the 2nd of May. So it's open just for 1 week. So anyone who is interested in running London Marathon next year, you have to enter the ballot from the 25th of April to the 2nd of May. There are about 17,000 ballot entry spaces available, and last year 840,318 people applied for this year's ballot or this year's race. It is a random ballot draw, so although your chances are slim, everyone is in the same boat and in with the same chance. This year, for 2026, they are expecting close to 1 million people to apply for the ballot, which is just crazy and ridiculous. The good news is, if you get in through the ballot, the London 2026 marathon entry fee is just £69.99. £69, that's all it is, £70 rounded up. But hope is not lost. If you don't get in through the ballot, then our good friends at Travelling Fit and other providers will be able to get you in there. So, Lucia, I guess you're going to enter the ballot as you always do. But what about
100%.
you? Yep. What about you, Tony? Would you be interested?
Well, last year Sharon and I entered the ballot because we just had never received a rejection email, and it was just good getting that, so we could go onto the social media and say, "Oh, woe is me! I got my rejection email." We'll go in it again just to see what happens.
And Lucia, this is your 10th in a row or something like that?
Potentially, yeah. I think I'm sitting at eight or nine rejections, so I need to get into the double figures. That's what I'm aiming for.
And Tara, any chance you're interested in it?
Not a chance. I'm not going up against 1 million people to try and enter a race. I'm so sorry. That's why I have Travelling Fit, Tim.
Yep. Just pay your way.
Yep.
Yeah, and I won't do it because Tara said she doesn't want to do it. So
You don't have to.
No, well, the odds are pretty slim. 17,000 out of 1 million. But anyway, I'll sleep on it for a little bit, but probably not likely. The last little bit of news I've got here is Strava has released some new insights ahead of the London Marathon. They've reviewed all a lot of the finishers who finished London last year and checked their data leading into it to see what they did. So around about 60% of London Marathon finishers last year uploaded their results to Strava and also trained with Strava as well. So among the key takeaways is that Strava identified that those who trained with others were significantly less likely to slow down over the final 10 kilometres. So if you train with other people, you'll tend to be able to last the 10 kilometres and not fade out. I don't know how that works, but that's what their statistics show out of their thousands of runners they've looked at. According to Strava, when looking back at last year's data, 29% of runners who tagged at least one other runner in their training bonked. That is slowed by 10% or more in the final 10Ks. This is compared to 45% of runners who trained alone. So Strava's analysis showed that 62% of marathon finishers included at least one non-running activity into their training. Generally, cycling and weights training were the most popular forms of cross-training. 4 months prior to the event, runners averaged a weekly total of about 31 kilometres per week, with long runs around 10 kilometres. And then 1 month out, the volume climbed to 45 kilometres in a week, with long runs typically reaching 32 kilometres. 2 weeks before the race, mileage dropped to around 30 kilometres per week, with most runners covering about 12 kilometres during the race week. Strava reports that over the last 5 years, participation in half marathons and its platform grew by 28%, while marathons were up by 14%. So exactly what we've been saying, there's an increase in participation around the world, and Strava's seen that. Women's participation in running events grew by 18% since 2019, and in 2024, running became the fastest growing social sport on Strava, with UK running activities overall rising by 64%. Pretty interesting stuff I get out of that. So, any takeaways, guys?
Well, Tim, I think you missed the most important stat that Strava released during the week around this work, and it was something like 63% of runners who had a pre-week before their London Marathon training block achieved their goal time. You saw that, didn't you, Lucia?
Yeah, but I thought it was a higher percentage. I thought it was more like 25%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 63 that hit their goal time, and then another 25% missed it by less than 10% or something.
Okay.
I think, that was the stat.
Yeah. So listeners who are listening to this, there's no such thing as a pre-week. It's just Tony and Lucia making it up.
Just old habits die hard, don't they? Old twingy hammy over there. Should have had a pre-week, Tim.
No.
Hammy now.
No. Now, before I finish up, the Sydney Marathon this week has announced that there will be a 5K mini marathon and a 10K race held on the day before the Sydney Marathon, or the TCS Marathon, presented by ASICS. So, guys, do either one of those events excite you the day before the TCS Sydney Marathon presented by ASICS?
I plan on doing the 5K. But my sister, who our listeners I haven't spoken about my sister too much, but we're chalk and cheese. I'll get up 5 o'clock, go for a run where she's sleeping till 8, 9 o'clock. I've said to her, if I pay for her entry, will she do it? She has said yes. So my sister is going to do it.
Okay. Last year it was the 4.2, wasn't it, Lucia? The mini marathon was the 4.2. Yeah.
Yeah, they've changed it. So really, it's kind of similar to Tokyo because Tokyo has the 10K on the marathon day, and then it has the 5K friendship run the day before. So very similar to Tokyo.
It actually looks pretty cool. I'll do the 5, I think. So
What are you going to do, park run?
No, we were going to, Lucia, but I think Tara's changed my mind and we're now going to sign up for it. So, an extra piece of bling for a weekend away, why not?
Yeah. You can't go wrong.
And you finish in front of the Opera House, so that's pretty cool too. So
2
days in a row.
Which, just to point out, the 10K doesn't finish at the Opera House on marathon day. It finishes at the Conservatorium of Music. So if any of our listeners are thinking, okay, I'll do the 10K on the same day as the marathon, I'll finish at the Opera House. Unfortunately, it doesn't, just because of how it's set up. Like, you can't have that extra amount of people because it will cause a lot of congestion. But just to further, it's not too far apart, the distances from the Opera House and the Conservatorium of Music. It's just up one hill. So still within a couple hundred meters.
Yeah, it looks a good course, to be honest. You're going down near Mrs. Macquarie's chair without doing the hill. I like that idea too, just quietly.
You do the hill.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Tony.
Okay. All right.
There you go, guys. And that's the news this week.
All right. Thanks, Tim. It's time to talk London. Now, for some of our newer listeners, we've done episodes before about the London Marathon. I think back in episode 42, if my memory serves me correctly. So if you truly can't get enough of London, I do know that there are some people that are really looking forward to this episode. But if you truly can't get enough of London and want to hear more about it, then maybe go back and check out episode 42 and have a listen to that episode as well. Tonight, we're basically talking about some of the memories that we had over the weekend. And I'm just going to sort of facilitate a bit of a discussion. I'll ask some questions. I'll stop Tim from talking every now and again, and just throw it open to Tara and Lucia. As a reminder, we all completed London in the very rare and special October 2022. And Tim, Tara, and myself, we travelled there, of course, with Travelling Fit, who they've always looked after us. And Lucia, who did you travel with again?
I did it with Try Travel because I had entry for Chicago, so I was always doing Chicago with Travelling Fit, but I didn't think I'd get a spot with London just because of the COVID carryover. So a friend of mine, her friend works for Try Travel, and she said, "Oh, we've got spots." I'm like, "Sweet, why not?" And then literally about 2 weeks after I paid my deposit, I had a call from Marima. Lucia, interested in London? We've got spots. I'm like, Marima, you're too late. She goes, "Why did he do that? You should have called me first." So, but it was still a really good experience though with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So the race is normally held in April, and of course we were in October, and that was purely because of the COVID carryover. So I'm going to kick things off and talk about arriving and hotels. So we arrived on the Thursday before the Sunday race. We came in via Heathrow and found it pretty easy. I was traveling with my family, so I had Sharon and my 2 children and a girlfriend, and we were staying right in central London. I think we were at Leicester Square, and you guys were near closer to Trafalgar Square, correct?
Yeah. We're literally 200 metres apart, so those squares sound like they're a long way away, but they're not really.
Not.
Yeah. And we were nice and close to the finish line, which is really, really important. So London's a point-to-point course, and it starts way out in Greenwich, and we finish up at the mall, which was, as we were saying, close to where our hotels were. So where would you recommend listeners to stay if they were thinking of doing London? Do you think it would be better to be staying out at Greenwich, close to the start line, or where we stayed in central London? Or do you even think, because the Expo was in a completely different place as well, so do you think it would be better to be near the Expo? So I think the year we were there also, if I remember rightly, that there was train strikes and all sorts of bedlam, but there was a bit of drama with the tubes, but normally, or the tubes or the trains or whatever we want to call them. But I think usually the tube's pretty easy to use. So, Luch, based on your thoughts, where would you believe the best place to stay? Recommend?
I would stay central London, and if you don't want to spend the money and stay within walking distance of the finish line, at least stay at a hotel that's within walking distance of a tube station. But just to also put a note there, some of the London tube stations don't have lifts; they're only stairs. So maybe not the best thing to do after a marathon. The hotel I stayed at, I was near Waterloo Station, which was maybe only about 15-minute walk from the finish line. And again, that was a great location as well because we were opposite one of the tube stations, but then also opposite, right near Waterloo. So I would recommend staying in central London because it just gives you easy access to get to the Expo and to get to the start line as well.
Yeah. Tim? Tara?
You go, Tara.
Okay, yeah. No, I like central London. I think it was good. Greenwich is probably a bit too far out to be staying in general. There's nothing to do there. So if you want to do anything in London afterwards or beforehand, you've got to do a lot of travel to come in. We were very, very close to the finish line, as everyone knows. Well, all three of us that are on this podcast, apart from Lucia. It was a very quick walk back to our hotel room afterwards, which was nice. No, I enjoyed the central London part. I probably wouldn't recommend staying anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with you, Tim?
Yeah, I'd do the same. I think stay in central London. Greenwich has its benefits, staying out or close to there. At the end of the day, the roads around Greenwich are closed once the marathon on it. And you've got to remember, once they set up the course, it's closed the roads from 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is. You can't drive to Greenwich. You can't catch buses there. You have to catch trains. So living local may have some, or staying local might have some benefits that way if you want a longer sleep in and don't want to catch trains. But we were fortunate. We had a bus provided. I think, Lucia, you had to catch a ferry or something, didn't you? And then a train to the start line. And I think that's important to understand is, it is difficult to get out to Greenwich. No, it's not that difficult, but you are fighting crowds of people in trains trying to get there if you are a regular person who's not with a travelling company like we were that had priority access with the buses.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Expo. Let's talk about there's the smile on Lucia. I was a bit nervous there. I thought Lucia had fallen asleep, viewers. So the eyes look closed, or I don't know. But anyway, so Luch is back. We talked the Expo. So
alarms goes off.
What were your memories, Lucia?
I did have a budget. I did set a budget, but that went out the window straight away. And it's really cool how it's in kind of Docklands area in a big exhibition. At first, when you get there, you're like, where is this place? But then when you get closer and closer and you see all the people, the signs like "Welcome to London Marathon Expo," and then it's got a countdown, and then you go in and you have to. I think we had to show a QR code from memory and ID, and they actually print your bib. They give you a bag. the year we did it, we didn't pick up our T-shirts there, but I believe from previous years since, they have had to pick up their T-shirts at the Expo. And then from there, you go through to the New Balance merch area, because New Balance is the major sponsor for those guys. And then they've got another, like, various vendors as well. I loved it. I got everything I wanted to. Yeah, spent a bit too much. I didn't convert because I thought, if I convert, I'm just going to scare myself. Yeah, it was just good times, because, like, one thing that I love about expos at majors, everyone is there for the same thing. And you can feel the hype at the expo and how excited people are. And one thing that makes me laugh is the amount of people you see coming straight from the airport with their suitcases. First stop for them is the expo. So yeah, I probably bought a bit too much, but no regrets.
Tim, I'll let you go through some of the details on where the expo is held.
Yeah, so it's held at the Excel Convention Centre. You can get there via train, and there's a cable car that crosses the Thames at that location as well. As Lucia says, it's out near the Docklands, so it's sort of halfway between Greenwich and the finish line. It's a big expo. I didn't mind it. It was the very first major expo that Tara and myself went to, so it was huge. It was on steroids compared to anything else we'd seen, and we loved it. All the merch is there, and generally you won't see any of the other merch sold any stores that around London. It's only available at the expo, but we found there were plentiful amounts of it, and they were restocking it quite regularly. But it was our first experience of that really snatch and grab type atmosphere that you get at expos, where everyone's just grabbing everything, walking away with bundles of things in their hands, and trying it all on, and randomly just trying on shirts and stuff, because the fitting rooms are full of people, and it's just crowded, and it was a bit of hustle and bustle. But the thing I really loved about the expo was they print the bibs out the moment you go in there. So they're not pre-printed. They don't have to run to a back room to grab your bibs or anything like that. You go in, you show your registration certificate or your barcode, whatever. They scan it, they print it, and it comes out, 10 seconds, 15 seconds later, straight out of the printer and into your hands, which I thought is a fantastic way of doing it. And I wish more races did that for their bibs.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very, very good expo. Tara, your memories?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed London. As Tim said, it was our first major expo that we'd been to that was a major race. I mean, we'd done Disney Expo, and that's another level altogether. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed London. It was very well organised. Everything was well set out, and there was lots of stock of everything that you needed. It wasn't a chaotic type of expo to me. It was very organised and very, the floor plan was well thought out too, so it flowed well.
Yeah, absolutely. We had 3 very bored children, so our trip to the expo was cut a little bit short, but it's definitely good memories. And one of the London Marathon jacket that I have gets worn everywhere because it's awesome. It's got deep pockets. One of the things...
Just the other thing, Tony, just the actual exhibitors I found as well. Sorry about that.
No, you're right.
The exhibitors I found were actually real running type products, and there would have been probably maybe 70 to 100 exhibitors there exhibiting pure running gear, which was good. A lot of the big expos, as we've talked about, don't tend to do that as much, but I found it was all these different products, mainly European products that I hadn't seen before, and I actually got to see a little bit more of those products and enjoy the expo a bit more once I got out of the hustle and bustle of the New Balance section.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one of the reasons, and I know we've already spoken about the accommodation, but one of the really big things you get when you do stay closer to the finish line is there's a real buzz around London. You see packs of joggers everywhere. Yeah, and I know we had a couple of shakeout runs, let's call them that, with Travelling Fit, but then other sports companies are doing the same, and you see groups of Brazilian runners and Colombian runners all just running around. It's a really good opportunity to run down the mall. It's a good opportunity to what's the London Eye, to go run past that. It's crossover Tower Bridge and all these sorts of things. So there's a lot happening around there. But there's no 5K race, is there, on the Saturday?
No.
So, and I know I was not into park runs when we run London back in October 2022. But I know Tim and Tara were, and I know that there was a train strike as well. So what did you guys get up to?
Tim?
Okay, I'll say it. So there was a train strike. We went to the home of parkrun, the very first parkrun, which was Bushy Parkrun, and we were there on their 18th birthday, which happens to be in October, and it was great. Bushy Parkrun is run through Bushy Park, which is right next to Hampton Court Palace. It's quite out of London. It's quite a fair distance, so usually you can just catch a train from central London straight to Bushy Park or Hampton Court and then walk straight into the parkrun. This one was a little bit more challenging. We had to catch trains through a train strike and work out which trains were working and which ones weren't. And then it only got us so far, and then we had to change to another train, and then we had to catch that for a while, and then we had to get off and then find a bus stop and then catch a bus. And then once we got off the bus, we then walked, I think it was about 2 kilometres to get to Bushy Park for parkrun. But we had, as I normally do, we had, I put a call out to all the people on the tour who wanted to do it, and we had about 7 or 8 people come and join us, and it was just a fantastic experience. We got to meet Trav from Run Down Under, who's been on our show before. He was there with the Try Travel group, for those who wanted to go out there as well. So it was good, and I think on the day we had about 2,000 or almost 2,000 runners at Bushy Park. So it was a good one. Really enjoyed it.
And I had a really good breakfast that day. So.
And I had a nice
in the really small restaurant that we were staying in that had no room for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that was the Saturday. So there's a real vibe around London. It is just incredible, and especially when you're, trying to walk along the Thames or something, and they're setting up, and there's kids races, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. So the vibe is amazing. But let's move on to marathon day itself. So we did get a bus out to Greenwich. So that was organised by our travel company. And I don't think we had much of a choice. We got there relatively early, but seriously, I can't remember the start village being like lengthy time waiting out there. It's not like a New York or something where we were like there for 2 hours or 3 hours almost, I think. It didn't feel like that in my memories. But then again, my memories are known to wander every now and again. But memories of the start area. Let's start with Tara.
I really like the start area in London. It's quite open. It's like New York is the same, where you're in individual corrals. You have different starts. So with London, I think it's a blue zone, green zone, maybe a yellow zone and a pink zone. I think this year they've changed the pink to be a green for environmental reasons. But I think there's 4 different start lines, and you don't actually meet up when you're running until about 5Ks in. So all these thousands and thousands of people, you're actually separated out. So it's actually a really nice environment in your own little start zone. You've got it's a bit like New York, where you've got food and drinks and urinals and porta potties and all the rest of it. You can actually sit down and rest out on some grass and everything like that. They've got lots of entertainment, TVs. I really actually enjoyed it. There was very good facilities for everything.
Yeah, Tim?
Again, I loved it. Lots of space, lots of parkland. You wouldn't have thought there was 50,000 runners around you because it wasn't a pink zone. I think it was a red zone, Tara. But the red zone was probably the blue and the red were the biggest corrals, and the red zone was quite some distance away from the blue area. But yeah, it was well organised, plenty of space, lots of urinals, lots of toilets. I guess my biggest thing there would be, if you are going there, take something to sit on, because it is just grass and there are no seats. There is no concrete. It's just grass. So if it's wet ground or it's been raining in the days beforehand, take an old poncho, take something that you can put down on the ground to sit on. Because yeah, it's about an hour and a half, depends on when you get there, that you're waiting in the corrals. The other one was the bag drop. So there is bag drop at this race. Not all marathons do bag drops, but this one has a bag drop. They're massive trucks, and it all correlates to your bib number. And I think there was probably 20 trucks. When I talk about trucks, I'm talking about semi-trailer type trucks, So all lined up, you drop your bag in the truck that corresponds with your number, and miraculously, somehow they get those trucks from there through the traffic of London, through all the closed streets to the Mall, to have it there when you're finishing. And I don't know how they do it, but they do it really well. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought Bag Drop was exceptionally well organised, and you just did not have a fear that it wasn't going to be there, because there were no horror stories that you heard about bag drops or bags going missing. So, and I've always said um, that marathons need to have men's urinals, and I think London does that very, very well. And they also have female urinals, so maybe just some of the placement might have been a little bit dodgy in my eyes. Hey, Luch, what were your memories of the start area?
Pretty much the same as you guys. Like, the one thing that really impressed me was the bag drop trucks, because it's literally, you just put it in, and as Tim said, somehow it got to the finish, and how it was organised at the finish was just absolutely amazing, because there was talk that it was meant to rain that day. So I bought a poncho with me and God knows what else, and I actually used the poncho to sit on. So but it was just, it was a relaxed feel. You didn't feel rushed. So you could actually gather that, like, if you want to be off on your own, you could be, but if not, if you're with friends, like, it was a good place just to chill and get ready for it. It was probably one of the less rushed major start areas.
And even when they did shuffle you into your corrals, so to speak, even that didn't feel rushed, and it felt like you're out on a country road, in all honesty, as they fed you onto that road. So,
And
yeah.
they have therapy dogs at the
Sorry?
start. They had therapy dogs at the start. I noticed that. Yes. I noticed the dogs. But yes, they do have therapy dogs if you're stressed anyway.
Yeah.
Not that I was stressed, but I did pat them.
Oh, what a surprise.
All right. So no one does a course breakdown better than Tim. So let's, Tim, I'm going to mention two things that stood out for me. Of course, Tower Bridge, you go over the Tower of London, or the Tower Bridge, whatever, at the it's roughly around the halfway mark. And I loved Cutty Sark. The early part was nice for me. Sharon had a wardrobe malfunction, which sort of cost us about 5 minutes of time. But anyway, so Tim, your memories of the course.
I loved every minute of this course. It starts with a big downhill section, particularly at about 5Ks. There's a really big sweeping bend there where you meet up with the other runners. And I really enjoyed that downhill section, but then it leads you into the Cutty Sark. The Cutty Sark is a ship that you actually do a full, almost circle around, and that's at about 10Ks is the Cutty Sark. And the crowds there, without a doubt, are 10 to 15 people deep, just yelling and screaming and cheering you on. There's big TV screens there because that's where all the BBC TV cameras are. And it's just amazing. And then you keep running down, you come to Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge, as you say, is about the halfway point. It's about 20 odd Ks. And you know it's there somewhere. You're looking at your watch. You're going, it should be here anywhere. I'm not sure where it is. And then all of a sudden you turn right. And there it is, literally a couple of 100 meters in front of you. You're right in there. And the bridge itself, both footpaths on both sides or both sidewalks on both sides of the bridge are just filled with charity people cheering on all the runners through there, absolutely yelling and screaming. And you almost miss when you look off to the left is Tower of London as you come off the bridge. There's the Tower of London, the famous Tower of London. You turn right at that point and you head out towards the Isle of the Dog and then into Canary Wharf, and it's about 25 k's. You hit the Canary Wharf, which is probably the quietest section on the course. It's the CBD area of the city. It's where Monday to Friday everyone goes there for business, and on weekends everyone disappears and goes back home. So very quiet through those sections, but a lot of twists. You go up a block, turn around, run up the next street, then turn around and come back, and number of twists and turns there to lose a few kilometres. But then you start to run back from Canary Wharf and that office precinct back in towards the finish line, and you've got to run past the Tower of London again, down along the embankment. At that point, you pass St. Paul's Cathedral on your right-hand side, which is where Lady Diana and Prince Charles got married, and a number of other notable people have been buried and all that sort of stuff. And then you keep running along the embankment. On your left-hand side, you'll see the London Eye, and then you come to a right-hand turn right at the Houses of Parliament at the Palace of Westminster. You've got Big Ben right above you. I've got some great photos of Tara and I with the camera. And this is a tip for people. When you get to Big Ben, put the camera down with selfie mode down around your waist levels so it's looking up towards you with Big Ben above you. Makes for a good photo. From there, you run down past Westminster Abbey. And from there, it's less than a kilometre towards, maybe a kilometre and a half to Buckingham Palace. You got your final big bend, which says 250 metres or so to go when you come around that big bend in front of Buckingham Palace.
It says 375.
375, there you go. And then you finish on the Mall, and it's a dead straight finish, nice wide finishing line, and it is a fantastic finish line. It's probably one of the best finish lines I've been across. And that is the course as best I can. It's generally a flattish course, a couple of downhill sections and a couple of little hills here and there along the embankment. It goes up and down over the final 5Ks or so, but they're not big hills. We're not talking massive hills. It's just rolling mounds, but largely a flattish course.
Yeah, it's a course you want to keep your head up in, and especially running along that final stretch where you're going past Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament. I know you're hurting at that stage because I was, and I don't think I made the most of what was around me. And I certainly know Sharon didn't. She just wanted to get the whole thing over and done with. So it is one that, if you've got to slow down to enjoy that last bit, slow down. Time is immaterial at London. There is... I think there is an official cutoff, but seriously,
it's very generous.
Yeah, I think you can finish it the next day, and they'll still give you a medal. So it's very, very generous, and that's the nature of the beast. Now, Luch, one of the worst memories of the course, I would imagine, for all of us, was a sticky sensation that we felt when we were running through certain areas. And what did you put that down to?
The damn Lucozade sports drink. Like, at first, I'd heard that they were giving like the water and the sports drink in bottles, and I'm like, how's this going to work? But I actually loved it, having the drinks in the bottle, because you could always keep one on you and have it at any time, and then just get another one at the next aid station. But yeah, the stickiness of a Lucozade was, you could hear it from people in front of you. So it was, thank God it was in bottles, because imagine if it was in cups, how much worse.
I think the Lucozade was in cups and the water was in bottles.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So the Lucozade was in cups and the water was in bottles, and the bottles are actually only about 200 ml, so they can sit in your hand. So they've got a flip top as well, so they're actually easy to carry when you're running. So, but the Lucozade was definitely in cups.
Yeah, that's why it's so sticky on the road.
And even just you talking about it now, I can still hear that sound as you're running through it.
Yeah,
So.
your feet literally just stick, and it's like you're running through glue at times. It's that sticky. So yeah, definitely a very memorable moment.
Yeah. And just the final bit about the course, and I'll throw this one open to Tara. Charity runners are everywhere, aren't they? And what were some of your favourite costumes that you either ran past you or you ran past?
Well, believe it or not, we had a lot of charity runners passing us. The rhinos, you have to look up the rhinos. I can't really even describe them, but these people that are dressed up as rhinos for Save the Rhinos, and the costumes that they wear are actually like 15 to 16 kilos, and it's a hot costume. So I take my hat off to them. There was a guy running with an ironing board. I don't know why. There was a guy running as a full DJ, and he was actually playing music with the DJ set in front of him. Superman, Big Ben, you name it, and you can guarantee you saw it. Teddy bears, love hearts. There was people of, bananas, you name it. They were all dressed up, apart from me, because running a marathon is hard enough.
And it ended up being a really hot day the day we ran it, because the day before everyone was saying it's going to be cold, it's going to rain. And I think everyone dressed for that. I know Sharon and I did. And then halfway through the course, we're just steaming because it was just a really hot day. So I don't know what people can make of that, but just dress for the weather that you're expecting, I guess, and then just hope for the best. So
it is. Sorry, just on that, it is inspiring seeing all those charity runners. And when you're looking at the charity runners, they've all got every possible body ailment you can think of is on somebody's shirt somewhere. You know, whether it's dementia, whether it's kidney disease, whether it's heart disease, whether it's a lung issue, whether it's cystic fibrosis, whatever, you name it, there's some sort of charity and there's somebody running for that charity in the event. And I found it quite inspiring. I also found a lot of those charity runners had pictures of people pinned to their backs and pinned to the fronts of their shirts.
Yeah.
And, you know, the times when you are feeling a bit down and during the race, and you're always going to have some moments where you feel a bit down going, why am I doing this? The charity runners are the things that I would focus on when I was running and help me to go, you know what, these people are doing it for a good cause. I should be able to get through this. Why am I complaining, you know? And it's quite inspiring. I talked about before, 17,000 people go in through the ballot, but there's probably just as many, if not more, go in via a charity and buy their way in through a charity. So this is the world's biggest, or one of the world's biggest annual charity fundraising events in the world. And all these people pay substantial amounts of money to go out there and run the race. But in the return, the charity gets, you know, some money from it, which is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and great exposure. But can I tell you, being passed by a fireman in full kit with emergency oxygen bottles on their back as well as you're coming into the finish straight may not be the best thing for your mindset. So, hey, let's talk about post-race. So we've crossed the finish line. What did you think? How was the post-race experience, Tim?
Well, it starts with a long walk from the finish line, and it's a production, isn't it? It's a production line. So you walk through, the first thing you get is your poncho, and then you keep walking, and the next thing you do is you've got to find your truck that's got your goodie bag on it, and then you get your goodie bag, and then you've got to go from there and find the next truck that's got your bag drop on it, which then has your shirt handed to us. In that instance, as Lucia said, they know how to hand the shirts to it. But that walk along takes you the length of the mall right up to pretty much Admiralty Arch, which is at the end of the mall there. So I don't know what the walk would be. It's probably a 500 or 600 metre walk post the finish line to be able to get out of the precinct. But I loved it. The goodie bags were filled with good food and good products. There was people everywhere, lots of celebration. Everyone's happy. They finished the race. Everyone's happy. They're celebrating. They're having a good time. I didn't really see anyone down. I didn't hear anyone complaining or having a bad time or anything like that. And found the medal we got was pretty good.
I mean, that we got the medals. Eliud Kipchoge was actually handing them out. He'd actually done the race earlier, and then was handing out the medals afterwards. So that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And of course, we had our celebration that night on a floating party boat, and with quite a large bar tab that we didn't quite drink. And the Curl family then took off for Amsterdam the next day. What did you do post celebration there, Lucia?
So I had another day in London, and then from London, I flew to Chicago because I was doing the Chicago Marathon a week later. So my post-race celebration was very mild because I was very conscious. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. So we had our post-race celebration at the pub across the road from the hotel. So it was very convenient. I won't forget, I went straight from the race straight to the pub because I thought, if I go back to the hotel and shower, I'm not going anywhere. So I literally had one drink and then I went straight back to my room because I'm like, no, I need to rest.
All right.
And then you had pizza with us the next night on Carnaby Street.
Yeah,
we
there
did.
we go.
This was a great night. Great pizza that night too.
That was a fun night. That was a good celebration night.
And I was in Amsterdam eating some things I shouldn't be talking about on a podcast. Hey, so just some general tips. I know we're getting close to time, guys, but what else is there to do in London other than run a marathon? Luch, what were some of your highlights?
Not necessarily. I didn't do it on this trip, but I have done it on previous trips to London. You can do a day trip to Paris on the Eurostar. You can get the first train out, one of the last trains back. Good way to see Paris. And if you book it early enough, you can get decent prices. To me, one thing I love doing is I just love walking around London because I used to live in London many, many years ago. And it cracks me up each time if you're in either Green Park or also Victoria Park. If it's a slightly hotter day in London, everyone's sunbaking. Cracks me up every single time. And one thing that I did as well, I actually went to see the Olympic Stadium as well, which I found quite fascinating. So I'll definitely recommend a day trip to Paris if you don't have more time to spend in Paris.
And just be mindful if you are walking around London to make sure you've got some coins in your pockets because the toilets are not like they are here in Australia and you will be paying for them. So
they do take tap and go.
Yeah, Tara and Tim, highlights, what to see, what to do.
We did Tower of London. That was a lot of fun. We did Westminster Abbey, paid to go in there. Did a thing called the Sky Garden. That's fairly new. We went all the way up to the top of that. That was a lot of fun. You can see all the way over London because it's not a high-rise city like New York. You can actually, there's only very few, so you can actually see a long way. We went to Harrods and we went to the food hall, and I highly recommend if you're a foodie, go to the Harrods food hall. We actually picked up some takeaway food and took it over to Hyde Park and sat next to the lake and had a look at the geese and ducks and people when we're one of those people sunbathing in the park, but not with our tops off like everyone else. So we also then walked down to the palace where Princess Di lives.
Kensington Palace.
Kensington, thank you. I'm trying to think of the name. And we did the changing of the guards at Buckingham Palace. So definitely do the changing of guards at Buckingham Palace because that is so worthwhile.
Excellent. Well, that pretty much knocks over our memories of London. So for everyone, if you are running the London Marathon this year or plan for it in the future, let us know. Tell us what you're most looking forward to and let us know how you went when you get back. We'd love to hear from you. So as always, once we've knocked over our major topic for the week, we then pass the ball over to the injured runner, constantly injured, always hurt runner. That's Tim. So Tim, what's your tip for the week?
It's just a twingy hamstring, guys.
Because he doesn't do a pre-week training. That's what it comes down to.
All right. So my tip this week, guys, is about travel. Is my travel and running tip. So we talk about these events. We talk about we go over. We try to cram in a lot and see a lot. And what we're saying is don't be scared to get out. and about when you're on a runcation, particularly in the days before a marathon. I know a lot of people want to rest their legs. I know a lot of people want to just sit in a hotel room, put their legs up. I get it. But at the same time, generally your time's limited and there's only so many days you can see things. So don't be scared to get out. Walking is good for you in the days beforehand, but it can also be a bit tiring if you do too much. So if you are walking too much, make sure you're drinking lots of water. Make sure you are getting good sleep at night, getting to bed early, making sure you are still eating the healthy foods, that even when you are out and about, you're not eating the greasy foods, but you're eating after the right foods that look after you. And the things I find, make sure you stretch before you go to bed at night, which will help alleviate some of the stiffness and lactates that you get built up from walking around the city. Wear comfortable shoes. Don't wear fashion shoes just to walk around the city. They're not going to help you, and they're going to make you painful longer term. So my tip this week is don't miss out on seeing stuff. Go out and do it. Don't miss out on stuff just because you're running a marathon. Too many people I've seen go in and you don't see them in the days leading into the marathon. They're hidden away in their hotel. You're in a different city. Go out and enjoy it, and enjoy the experience while you're there. And leave the running on those events. Don't go out to set a PB. It's very difficult on a race like London to set a PB because it's so crowded on the course. Just go out and have fun and enjoy it, and enjoy the whole experience, not just the marathon. That's my tip.
Lucia, what is the record number of steps that you did the day before a marathon? Because I reckon mine would have been about 31,000 steps.
I was going to say it'd probably be close. It was probably New York.
Yeah.
Because I was just walking around, taking it all in Central Park. So probably around the 30,000 step mark. But ironically, New York is my second fastest marathon.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Dopey.
So don't do 30,000 steps, but do get out and enjoy yourself while you're there. It's a bit long way to go just to run a marathon. So don't keep yourself in the hotel room. So that's a Tim's tip that I will endorse because it also won't hurt you. It won't get you injured. So, hey, Tara, what's happening next week?
Excellent. So next week we've got experiences from returning from injury. Now, this is directed not just at Tim, but Tony, I know that you've had some calf issues as well, and you've had some eye surgery. So it's about just how are we going to get back into running after being injured or having a break, and we want to make sure that we're not going to be hurting ourselves when we do that. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we're very stubborn as runners, and we ignore the pain and we continue to push ourselves, but we don't want to break ourselves. So when we break, all we want to do is go back to running. The problem with that is obviously it just prolongs that recovery. So our tips and tricks are going to hopefully help you keep running and get back on track after an injury.
Awesome. It's going to be a fantastic episode, no doubt. So I think we've all had that experience of coming back from some injuries. I've had more than my fair share. And it's there's a real art to it. So looking forward to being able to share some of the things that I've done that you shouldn't do, but also, some of the tips that I've learnt along the way. So thank you so much, Tara. And that pretty much finishes the show. So I'm really enjoyed going. I love these shows because it does bring back the memories of doing the majors that we've done, being the only podcast with 4 co-hosts, all with the 6-star. It enables us to bring our experiences to you, the listeners. So we're really, really grateful to be able to do that. So as always, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. My co-hosts and everyone that's listening or watching. It's always a good night when I can sit here and smile and try and annoy Tim. So we do love making these podcasts for you, our listeners. Your feedback does mean the world to us. So like, comment, message us wherever you see us or find us or follow us, whether that's Instagram, Facebook. Just reach out, say g'day. We'd love to hear from you. We also have our email address, happyrunning@flyingrunner. runr.com. So send up through questions or tips that you may have, and we'll be happy to talk about them on every episode if need be. So you can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. You can listen to us on Apple, Amazon, and just about every other major podcast platform that's out there. Remember, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we're going to see you next time on the Flying Runr Podcast. Until then, happy running.
Happy running.
Happy
Happy
running.
running.